Yeah, I said, I know Tom's ever had him on before, but joining me in this first time in this extended hour of the Will Marotti Show is someone, and I'll tell you how this happened. Last week I'm talking to a caller and a guest from Granby, in fact, and he said, well, you should have on your show. I said, who is that? He goes, you need to have Mark Anderson on your show. He's a great rep and he does a great job in Granby. So because you said it, because you asked for it, joining us now for the first time, at least with Will Marotti, is a state representative, and it's a large area. It's not just Granby. Also, it's part of New Hartford, Bark, Hampstead, Heartland, that area. Mark Anderson. Mark, thanks for joining us. Mark, are you there?
Pastor Will.
Hey, Mark.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear now.
All right, great. Thank you very much for having me on.
Yeah, thanks so much. One of your constituents I was talking to last week and said, you got to have Mark Anderson on. So here you are. Thank you so much for coming on. And looking at your bio, but thank you for serving your country. A lot of years in the military. And Liberty University, go Flames. Was that distance learning, the Liberty experience?
It was online after I retired from the Army, but I was able to go to the commencement in person, where none other than President Jimmy Carter was the speaker.
No kidding! Oh man, okay, so this goes back. I mean, I first visited.
No, this was recent. I think 2018. He was the speaker.
You're kidding me! Wow, that is cool. I go back to like 1982 at Liberty. So
wow,
I don't want to age I don't want to date myself, but. So you've got a long history, public service, military. You've been in Granby for a while. Now I know what I've been told, and Greg has told me that you really put a lot of focus on what's happening with the Farmington River. So I want to hear first. I want to hear you talk about. Then I want to talk just. Share what's important to you, I guess. Or why don't we do this? Why don't share what's important to you first in terms of your service to the people of Connecticut, and particularly in your area, in your district. And then we'll talk about the Farmington River. How about that?
Sure. Although I got into politics late in life, I think I've had an interest since my teens. But then, as you said, I chose to serve about 30 years in the Army. But I did get my bachelor's in government and even had sort of a libertarian conversion in college. And then Ronald Reagan came on board, and, that was in my early 20s, and I saw how things positive could really happen under the right leadership. So my priorities are affordability, which Connecticut's one of the worst states, a rule of law. I heard you talking about immigration with Chris Powell, economic freedom, individual liberty, and limited government. So those are my priorities, and all of those result in a better life and more prosperity for everyone.
I don't want to put you on the spot, so if I'm wrong, please tell me I am. But I thought when the caller said I should have you on, I thought what we were talking about was parental notification. Is that right? Is that on your radar?
Absolutely. I was an introducer, one of 5, on 2 bills, which got a lot of press lately, and very, very important issues. One was Connecticut Save Women's Sports Act, and the other was Let Kids Be Kid. So women's sports is a big issue in Connecticut, with 4 Connecticut girls who still have a pending federal lawsuit, who lost 15 medals between them because 2 boys were allowed to play, and I know that are allowed to compete. I know that 24 states have passed laws that prohibit boys playing in girls' sports. And then the other bill is, has a working title, Let Kids Be Kids, would require school officials to notify parents of any behavior interventions, disruptive behavior, mental health issues, involvement in bullying, poor performance, and assuming a new gender identity. So it would give parents the information they need to perform their role as parents. But apparently, I think at least 27 school districts in Connecticut are not required to notify parents of social gender transition. No approval or even knowledge of parents required. And even our Attorney General submitted a legal brief supporting a school in Massachusetts where the mom was in Connecticut, that not requiring parental notification.
Wow. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. I mean, you have to get parental notification to give the kid Tylenol, for crying out loud. But yeah, right. Something as major as that, and we don't want parents to know about it. It's mind-boggling. A personal point here for a moment. The first presidential election I was old enough to vote in, I voted for Ronald Reagan. We share some of those early days, I think.
Absolutely.
You know, the whole illegal thing is it's just so mind-boggling to me, and I don't want to belabor it, but the first hour we had a caller, and he said, and I didn't know differently, that, well, you know, what would you do? What would Connecticut residents do if a Connecticut resident was killed by an illegal immigrant? And I was like, well, I don't know of anybody, and immediately it was brought to my attention that we did have a man back in October who was killed, 32-year-old, killed in a car accident. Car driven, ran a red light, driven by a woman who's an illegal alien, and the family's not getting any response, not getting any satisfaction. And I'm like, how did we get to this point, Mark? I mean, this is certainly not the country that you and I grew up in.
No, I agree. It's really a lawlessness. And, you know, we're a sanctuary state, which is under the umbrella of the Trust Act. During this session and 2021, I put in bills to repeal the worst parts of that, where it's illegal to cooperate with federal detainers, except for, you know, the most heinous crimes like murder or terrorism. So even if someone has pending criminal charges, an outstanding arrest warrant, a known gang member, or even has an order of deportation or presents an unacceptable risk to public safety, our legal system is not required to hand them over to the feds, who aren't enforcing anyway right now.
Right. Yeah. Which is just unbelievable, and it's tragic. I'm wondering why, at least from a voter standpoint, it seems to me there's not much of an outcry in Connecticut. I mean, if you're literally on the border, Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, I mean, certainly you're faced with that problem, but we're faced with that problem here in Connecticut. I know this anecdotally from a food pantry that we run, and we service a lot of families, and we've had a huge jump in recent months by folks who are coming who have zero identification, who don't speak, not only do not speak English, it's not Spanish. Most of the folks that we service that are bilingual or don't speak English are Spanish-speaking folks. These are folks coming that speak language our guys can't identify. They don't know what they're talking about. And so even in a community like Meriden, you know, you don't hear a lot about illegal immigration, but obviously it's making an impact everywhere, probably making an impact in Granby. I don't know. But why isn't there more outcry from voters about what's going on, do you suppose, here in Connecticut?
I think the opposition is not organized. I believe that the vast majority of people oppose it. The federal government, our Congress, has dropped the ball and not doing the right kind of reforms where we need, like the old time where we need more people who are coming here willing to work. We have a real worker shortage here. But I know that the Yankee Institute, the impact in this state, Yankee Institute did an article that our net population increase was all due to illegal migration. And I'm sure it's impacting our housing shortage. And it's impacting our state budget by probably at least $1.5 billion. I've seen research from FAIR in D.C. And I recently was tipped off about a call to all the towns in the state: be prepared to take in illegal migrants on no notice. I listened to that 2-hour presentation. So, it's happening here. It depending on where you are, you may not see it much, but the federal government has to get it right. But we should not be a sanctuary state.
You spent so many years in the military, which we appreciate so much your service. Why government? I mean, you got a degree in government public policy. Why did you get involved? What was it that made you say, you know what, I'm going to run? How did that happen?
I think everybody has a calling, and that I felt strong. I can tell you, it came about where I wasn't sure what I was going to major in. You know, I think I even started in phys ed and pre-med, and then I took my first government class, and it was kind of like falling in love. This is what I like. So sometimes you got to bounce around until you find out what your passion is.
I know that. Yeah.
So, but I also, felt a calling to join the Army. I was, just 3 years active duty total and 25 reserve. So I also worked as an Army civilian. So I always, try to very much keep up with politics, local, national, state. So it's just a passion.
Yeah. I won't mention his name, but a longtime politician who knows me well and says that politics is my drug of choice. I mean, I am very, I'll never run for anything. I won't do that. I believe I have a calling. Right now my calling is primarily, my primary calling is to be a pastor of a church. But even if I wasn't, I still wouldn't run. But I do find myself fascinated by politics, and sometimes negatively so, because I get so frustrated by what's going on. But I just I love the process, and I love to see the differences. But I think back to our founding, and I just cannot believe that our founding fathers would be happy with the direction that the country is going right now, whether it's regulation, taxation, immigration. I don't think the founders envisioned this. Gun regulation. I don't think the founders envisioned this for our country. And I'm wondering where are we heading? And can it be turned around, I guess, is the question mark. Can it be turned around?
I do believe it can be turned around, or I wouldn't be doing this. It's certainly worth fighting, and it's worth fighting for.
Yeah.
And our founding is very unique and very special.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's getting back to our founding principles is absolutely how we can do it, how we can fix things.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're winding up on time here. Let's talk about the Farmington River. You're an outdoorsman by your bio. You're a hunter, so I imagine you are okay with hunting with guns, or are you strictly bow and arrow?
Sure, I do have a crossbow, but I'm only an occasional and not very successful hunter. My oldest son is my guide. He's frustrated with me and hasn't given up. And I'm only occasional. I'm pretty busy with this job. I'm only occasional fisherman, but I enjoy it. But the Farmington River, when it came down in the end of my first term in 2022, the river was very low, especially the upper Farmington.
Yep.
And I got a SOS from the owner of one of the businesses who rented canoes. Hey, you got to help us. So I went and saw him right away and talked for quite a while, and then went to the local fly fishing store and got more information and connected with the great Farmington River Watershed Association and got educated. And I put in, first, I got the crux of the issue is that there are two dams at the top of the river where it enters Connecticut, the Colebrook River Dam and the Goodwin Dam. And the Colebrook River Dam is federal. Mm-hmm. And the Corps of Engineers runs it, and their mission is flood control. But the Metropolitan District Commission had, until last July, basically custody of the majority of the water in there, 10 billion gallons, but it was emergency drinking water they could not access, yet they had to share dam costs.
Mm.
After years of trying, our State Department of Public Health granted them an abandonment permit.
Mm-hmm.
But the Corps of Engineers is still billing them for the dam costs. At best case, that's resolved by the end of by this early fall.
Mm-hmm.
But during this dispute, the 10 billion has been held somewhat hostage, where if the water's low, not enough is released, or if there's too much water, they haven't set the capacity for it, and then they let out too much. This has done great harm to fishing, tubing, canoeing, kayaking, the health of the river. It's increased the risk of flood in places like Simsbury,
mm-hmm.
And it's hurt tourism and, frankly, threatened, safety, where people don't know there's a sudden release and could be in the river.
Sure. Yeah.
So we have a bill that got a public hearing, but it's been improved and is going to be voted on Friday.
Wow.
Which would give our DEEP a much more proactive role in releases, allow them to coordinate with the federal government.
Okay.
And requires the Metropolitan District Commission to let water out of Goodwin Dam when requested, when it doesn't conflict with other requirements. So we're confident this will go forward. It has no fiscal cost associated with it.
Good.
Right now, DEEP has just a control of a small pool of waters for fisheries they can use in like June and September. But now this would give them a proactive role to get engaged on the rest of the water. And hopefully what it's been described as is erratic flow, that we have dams there, but we're not taking advantage of them.
Yeah. Makes sense. Why use the dams? That's what they were built. Okay. Hey, Mark, we are out of time. I want to say thank you so much, State Representative Mark Anderson. Pleasure to meet you, sir. Hopefully we can have you on again. And thanks for taking time today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Pastor Will.
Okay. Mark Anderson, everybody, from Granby. Hey, guys, that's it. We are out of time.